The motorcycle market is in free fall, and it's happening faster than anyone could have predicted. What was once a booming industry of high demand, rising prices, and excitement has suddenly hit a massive roadblock. By 2025, dealerships are sitting on mountains of unsold bikes, financing costs have skyrocketed, and repossessions are on the rise. The value of motorcycles, both new and used, is dropping, and it seems like we're witnessing the collapse of a once thriving industry. But what went wrong? How did things go from booming to crashing so quickly? Stick around as we break down the shocking truth behind this market crash, how it's affecting buyers, dealerships, and manufacturers, and what this means for the future of motorcycling. Believe me, you'll want to see this till the end, because the implications of this collapse could change the motorcycle industry forever. The motorcycle market is really taking a nosedive, and it's happening way quicker than anyone thought it would. For a long time, the industry was all about rising prices, high demand, and booming sales, but that's changed now. By 2025, dealers are really struggling with a ton of unsold inventory. It looks like repossessions are really on the rise, financing costs are getting pretty crazy, and the value of used motorcycles is taking a big hit. This isn't just a little hiccup, it's a major crash that could really shake things up in the industry for good. You can see the signs of this collapse all around us. Walk into any dealership these days, and you'll spot rows and rows of shiny new motorcycles just sitting there gathering dust. Harley-Davidson, Indian, Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki, and even the high-end names like Ducati and BMW are all having a tough time selling bikes these days. So, even with dealerships rolling out some amazing discounts and incentives, it seems like buyers just aren't coming through. There are more than 45,000 new motorcycles just sitting unsold on dealer lots all over the US, and some of them have been there for over 200 days. So, it looks like manufacturers are reducing production, shortening factory hours, and letting some workers go. Harley-Davidson has cut production by 25%, and Indian is following suit. It looks like smaller brands like Zero Motorcycles and Royal Enfield are closing down dealerships all over the country. Things in the industry are falling apart pretty quickly. So, how did we end up in this situation, and why does it seem to be getting worse? The motorcycle market crash didn't just happen all of a sudden. It's been brewing for quite a while now, thanks to a mix of rising costs, questionable economic decisions, trade conflicts, and some pretty wild price increases. So here we are in 2025, and it's clear just how much these failures have hit us. Dealerships are packed with unsold bikes. Harley-Davidson and Indian are cutting back on production. Loan interest rates are through the roof, and there's a huge surge in repossessions that's really dragging down the value of used motorcycles. Honestly, things are a lot worse than a lot of folks think. This goes beyond just motorcycles. It's really tied to poor trade deals, Trump tariffs, inflation, and the mess in global supply chains. The U.S. motorcycle industry has really struggled because of the same economic policies that have impacted American manufacturing, shipping, and how much consumers can spend. Have you noticed how crazy motorcycle prices have become lately? A major reason for the collapse is the pricing issue. In the past 5 years, motorcycle prices have really shot up by more than 40%, which has left a lot of riders unable to afford them. Motorcycles were once seen as budget-friendly options compared to cars, offering a fun and cost-effective way to travel. But in 2025, getting a new bike seems more like splurging on a luxury car instead of just picking up a practical way to get around. Back in 2019, if you were eyeing a Harley-Davidson Road Glide, you could snag one for around $22,000. Can you believe it? That same bike is now going for more than $30,000. The price of the Harley-Davidson Street Glide has now hit around $33,500. These days, even the entry-level bikes, like the Harley-Davidson Nightster and Indian Scout, which used to be seen as starter bikes for new riders, are priced between $12,000 to $15,000. It's not only American brands, you know. The Honda Africa Twin used to be a great adventure bike priced at $13,000, but now it's gone up to over $16,000. The BMW GS, a top-notch adventure bike, kicks off at $22,500, and it comes with some solid features. The Suzuki Hayabusa, a beloved sports bike among fans, has seen its price jump from $14,000 to $19,000 in just a few years. These crazy price increases have really pushed a lot of potential buyers right out of the market. So, with interest rates going through the roof, hang tight. We'll dive into that shortly. Financing a motorcycle has turned into quite the financial headache. It seems like a lot of riders are checking out those price tags and deciding to walk away. Instead, they're sticking with their old bikes or even opting out of owning a motorcycle altogether. Getting financing for a motorcycle these days feels like an uphill battle. Buying a new bike is already tough, with prices being so high. But the real kicker in 2025 is going to be how much it costs to finance one. Have you noticed how interest rates on motorbike loans have shot up? It's really making it a lot pricier to buy a bike, even if you manage to get that loan approval. For a lot of riders, the dream of owning a motorcycle feels like it's getting further away. Not because they don't want one, but because the cost of borrowing has turned into a real financial headache. In the past few years, we've seen motorcycle loan interest rates triple. So, back in 2019, getting a loan for a bike was pretty straightforward. If you had decent credit, you could find interest rates sitting around 3% to 4%. So, here we are in 2025, and it turns out that the average interest rate on a new motorcycle loan is sitting at up to 9.5%. If you're thinking about financing a used bike, you might be facing interest rates even at around 11%. And some lenders could hit you with rates at around 15% if you're a subprime borrower. Those sky-high rates really have cranked up the cost of financing motorcycles. If you're thinking about buying a $30,000 Harley-Davidson right now, keep in mind that you could end up paying an extra $6,000 to $8,000 in interest throughout the loan's duration. So, a bike that starts at $30,000 might actually set you back around $40,000 by the time you finish paying off the loan. When financing a used bike, things can get pretty tricky. If you're looking at a $15,000 used bike with an 11% interest rate over a 5-year loan, you can expect to pay about $330 to $350 each month. Just keep in mind, you'll also be shelling out an extra $4,500 or so in interest by the time the loan is paid off. What used to be a budget-friendly second-hand purchase has turned into an expensive burden. Motorcycle buyers are really feeling the pinch from these rising loan costs. Did you know that 1 in 4 people buying motorcycles these days is signing up for a loan with monthly payments exceeding $500? That's quite a trend, and that's not even taking into account the costs for insurance, maintenance, and registration, which have all gone up in recent years. These days, a lot of folks find that shelling out $500 to $600 a month for a motorcycle just isn't doable anymore, especially with car payments, rent, and everyday costs all on the rise. What's the deal with motorcycle loan interest rates being so high? You know, the increase in interest rates isn't just a coincidence. It's actually due to a bunch of economic and policy-related reasons that have made it a lot pricier to borrow money. The Federal Reserve has really ramped up interest rates since 2022, and that's made borrowing more costly for just about everything. Think home mortgages and car loans, which are definitely pricier now. Meanwhile, banks and lenders are getting stricter with their credit standards. So, with bike repossessions on the rise, lenders are definitely being more careful about who they decide to approve. Motorcycles are often viewed differently than cars. While cars are seen as essential for getting around, motorcycles tend to be thought of more as fun or luxury rides. A lot of banks view them as a bit riskier. If someone is having a tough time with their finances, they're more likely to fall behind on their motorcycle loan before they miss payments on their car or mortgage. Lenders are definitely taking risks into account when pricing, especially since they realize that motorbike buyers these days are more prone to defaulting. So, with inflation driving up costs, more people are struggling to keep up with their payments, and banks are really hesitant to deal with risky loans. So, they end up charging higher interest rates, even for those borrowers who have good credit. Looks like loan approvals are on the decline. Not as many buyers are able to secure financing these days. Getting approved for a loan has become a real challenge too. Back in 2019, just around 10% of motorcycle loan applications didn't make the cut. Now, in 2025, it turns out that 1 in 5 buyers are getting kicked out by lenders, particularly those with average or lower credit scores. If someone's thinking about buying a motorcycle, they might find out they don't even qualify for a loan. For those who do get approved, a lot of them are facing interest rates that are just sky high, making the payments really tough to handle. Meanwhile, it looks like cash buyers are starting to fade away from the market. Before the market crash, a lot of riders would save up and just buy motorcycles outright instead of going the financing route. With inflation munching on savings and the cost of living going up, it's getting harder for folks to shell out $15,000 to $30,000 in cash for a motorbike. It turns out that having fewer loans and fewer cash buyers has really taken a toll on bike sales, and this is where things really start to go downhill. Repossessions. When buyers struggle to keep up with their loans, repossessions really start to spike. So, that's pretty much what we're noticing. Motorcycle repossessions are up by 28% compared to last year. It seems like a lot of riders are having trouble keeping up with their loans. Lenders are snatching up bikes at an unprecedented rate, which is causing a huge increase in the inventory of used bikes. And what do you think happens when there are a ton of cheap repossessed motorcycles flooding the market? Prices for used bikes have dropped, which is making it tough for dealerships to move new motorcycles. Buyers who paid too much for their bikes in 2023 and 2024 are starting to see that their motorcycles are worth thousands less than what they still owe on them. A lot of riders find themselves in a tough spot with their loans. Instead of sticking it out and making payments, they're just walking away, defaulting, and letting the bank deal with the fallout. If you picked up a shiny new bike last year, there's a good chance it's already dropped in value by about 20 to 35% now. The used market is totally flooded, which is making it even tougher for dealerships to sell their new inventory. Dealerships are really feeling the pressure right now. Motorcycle dealerships are really going through a tough time right now. There are thousands of new motorcycles just sitting around, piling up storage fees and financing costs. Dealerships are rolling out some amazing discounts right now just to clear out their inventory. Some places are slashing $5,000 to $8,000 off, offering 0% financing for the first year, and even tossing in free accessories just to move those bikes off the lot. So here's the thing, it's just not working. Buyers are aware that the market is taking a hit and are holding off, hoping for even lower prices before they decide to buy. Yeah, they totally are. With inventory stacking up, dealerships are going to have to cut prices even more, which will likely cause motorcycle values to drop even further. A lot of dealers are probably not going to make it through this crash. So, what's the next step? If you're thinking about getting a bike, you might want to hold on for a sec. Looks like prices are set to drop even further, as dealerships are going to be feeling the heat even more. If you wait just a bit more, you might save yourself a ton of money on a brand new bike. If you're looking to sell a bike, now is probably the time to do it. As more bikes flood the used market, we can expect their values to keep falling. If you wait too long, you might end up getting less for your bike. This crash is only getting started. Looks like the motorcycle market crash of 2025 is just kicking off, and we still have to see how bad things are going to get. So, prices that have been pumped up for ages are now taking a nosedive because of those high interest rates. A bunch of repossessed stuff hitting the market. What used to be a booming industry, driven by high demand, accessible financing, and more riders, has now hit a rough patch. Dealerships are struggling to sell their inventory, and manufacturers are cutting back on production to cope with the changing economic landscape. Motorcycle dealerships all over the country are having a tough time dealing with a huge amount of unsold inventory. Some folks are cutting prices by thousands, throwing in huge incentives, and even going for interest-free financing to attract buyers. It seems like even these big moves aren't doing the trick, since more and more people are waiting to buy. Buyers who used to eagerly grab the opportunity to get a new bike are now hanging back, just watching as the industry falls apart right before their eyes. We're in a pretty unknown situation right now, and honestly, it might get tougher before it starts to improve. With borrowing costs being so high, the economy feeling shaky, and used motorcycle values just plummeting, it's really creating a tough situation. It seems like every month, the industry just keeps getting pulled down more and more. Getting financing these days is tougher, and not many folks are jumping at the chance to take on loans. Because of that, we're seeing fewer new buyers in the market, which means dealerships are stuck with more bikes than they can actually sell. So, it looks like manufacturers like Harley-Davidson and Indian are scaling back production, since the demand for new motorcycles is really low right now. If you're really looking closely, you can see that this market collapse might actually be a chance for some interesting opportunities. If you're thinking about getting a motorcycle, just hang in there. It'll be worth it in the end. Prices are going to keep falling, and as dealerships get more eager, you'll have a great chance to negotiate even bigger discounts. If you've got a bike and are considering selling it, now's the moment to act, before those resale values drop even more. We're seeing the biggest motorbike market crash in decades, and things are still changing. So, with repossessions going up, people cutting back on spending, and all these economic pressures piling on, it looks like the motorcycle industry is going through a pretty big change, one that might take a long time to bounce back from. We've got some tough times ahead, and what goes down in the next few months might really set the stage for the industry for a long while. And there you have it, the shocking details behind the motorcycle market crash of 2025. As we've seen, this isn't just a temporary hiccup, it's a perfect storm of rising prices, skyrocketing financing costs, and an oversaturated market. Dealerships are struggling, manufacturers are slashing production, and buyers are holding back. The industry is changing before our eyes, and no one knows exactly where it's headed. But if you're still looking to get into the motorcycling world, there's a silver lining here. With prices falling and dealerships desperate to clear inventory, you could be in a prime position to snag an incredible deal. On the flip side, if you're thinking of selling your bike, the window is closing fast to get top dollar before values drop even further.